This is Midrash Tanchuma, Parshat Vayera. It is entitled "The Man Who Tried to Dissuade Avraham from Sacrificing His Son." So let me ask you, did you ever meet someone who told you that they're a good Jew in their heart? In other words, they sort of make decisions, moral decisions of what's right and wrong because they know themselves. They don't keep rituals. They don't need, exactly a God or a religion to tell them what's right and wrong. They can figure it out on their own. So I like to believe that a good way to analyze that approach comes from this Midrash Tanchuma on Parshat Vayera, because what the Midrash does is it sort of gives perhaps an imaginary conversation. The Midrash calls it a conversation between the Satan and Avraham, which means it's a conversation with his Yetzer Hara or his just inner doubts about how to react to the fact that God asked him to do something very, very difficult, very counterintuitive. And he's dealing with those feelings, but he's also cognizant that God asked him to do this. So the conversation goes like this. First, an old man appears to Avraham, and he says, a man finally gets a child at the age of 100, and he kills him. And Avraham does not react. And then the person goes on and sort of threatens Avraham and says, do you think you're going to get away with this? Do you think you can kill someone and not be accountable? And again, this does not get a response from Avraham. So then a young man appears next to Yitzchak, who's walking there, and says, your mother fasted for days on end and nights because she was praying for a child, and now you got to listen to this old man and walk to your death. And Isaac is also very, very strong in his belief. Now it gets interesting. The man seems like he has to step it up, like he's not getting any reaction. So he now reveals to Avraham that he's not really a man. He's sort of a celestial being, and he's got some inside information. He says, I heard from behind the pargod, which is like, behind the curtain up there in the heavens, that you passed the test. You're done. You can go home. There's actually going to be an animal sacrifice instead of Yitzchak. It's all over. Give it up. And Avraham gives a very interesting response. He says, Kochen shoshol badai shafilu omer emet ein shomim lo. This is the fate of a liar. Even when he speaks the truth, no one will believe him. So Avraham is holding fast and seeing this out to the end. And again, it's a interesting question of what is going on here. As I said, it seems that Avraham is trying to deal with the fact that it feels wrong to kill your own child, and God had promised him that his child would be progenitor of a great nation, and now God is asking for this. It doesn't make any sense. But he, at the end of the day, is going to stay with the simple narrative. God told me to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to suspend that little voice in my heart telling me what's right and wrong. And the Midrash actually ends up in a very beautiful piece where Avraham, after it's over, says, God, I have to tell you something. I really couldn't figure this out. I'm hoping at very least after going through this, that if one day my children might, sin, that they will be forgiven. And God says, well, you opened up your heart to me. I'll open up my heart to you. I want you to know that they will sin one day, and they're going to blow the shofar, and it's going to be remind everyone of this incident, of what you went through, and they indeed will be forgiven. And this is incorporated right into our Rosh Hashanah davening. So that's a promise that Avraham extracted from all this, which helps in some way understand the very, very difficult portion of the Torah. But again, back to my premise, I think it also reflects back on this issue of, do you listen to your heart? Do you make your own judgments of what's right and wrong? Or is that actually idolatry? Because you're making your own heart, your own conscience into a God, and then you're listening to this God instead of listening to God. That perhaps is what I see in these beautiful midrashim. Have a great Shabbos.